black or white. It's not black or white. It's not black or white. It's not black or white. With Tim Stevenson and Diane Blakeley. Not black or white. It's not black or white with Tim Stevenson and Diane Blakeley. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to It's Not Black or White. We are your host, Tim Stevenson.
And Diane Blakeley.
For another pod about the things that are happening in life today. And tell me what happened at the State of the Union.
I did. And I did not watch it live, but I watched it on C-SPAN this morning because I didn't think I could handle it. So I chose to watch Shrinking instead.
Gotcha.
I was one of those people who's like out of sight, out of mind kind of thing, which I'm normally not like, but I've been trying to do stress relief. So I decided I'd wait till I had the ability to kind of thumb through the things, you know. So, you know, when I got to watch it on C-SPAN and then I could see all the fact checking, like what did and I never thought I would say this. What did our president lie about today? I mean, it's been long thought that politicians generally are
bend the truth,
you know. You try to ask them a question and they dodge it and they circle it and they do all these weird things to not actually ask the question, even to the point where they'll answer something that you didn't ask.
Well, that happens a lot, and that happens on both sides. Politicians are politicians, in my opinion. And I hate when they do that. I hate when they go, it's like saying, hey, did you not just pick up this can of water? And they go, well, the real question is, does American people know that water is a problem in this country?
You're like, that's not what I was talking about.
Like, what?
Yeah, they're very good. And I think they learn that technique at a young age, you know, but to have the president of the United States be just a flagrant liar. I'm sorry, folks, for those of you who still support this person, you must be watching something completely different, because with all of the chat GPT sort of, you know, systems and Perplexity and Grok, you could easily find, you don't even have to comb through the internet to find accurate stuff.
Right.
And I think some people just decide that's the team I'm rooting for and I'm not going to change. So if it kind of goes against what they actually think, they just turn it off. I, on the other hand, am willing to look at the other side, because I don't think you can understand if you just look at the things that basically placate your side of the aisle.
Right. So during State of the Union, I mean, what I should educate myself on the State of the Union, because I just don't know, because I just don't watch it. You know, like, what does he say? Like, what is the point of the State of the Union? To tell the world what's happening?
Well, it's the State of the Union is to give sort of a pause and an opportunity to talk about what the current administration has done while they've been in office and what they plan to do. And it is basically that, the State of the Union, the State of the Union of the United States, like what's going on. You know, and so because the State of the Union has been a little bit distressed, because
what state are we actually in?
Yeah, in Minneapolis, for example. I mean, and he was bold enough to actually mention it, but the way that he does things is just, I'm sorry, it's just so beyond what you and I are used to. When, I mean, we've been here on this earth for a significant period of time so that we could see the transformation and how people behave. It used to be wrong to lie, you know, certainly if you were taped when you were lying, because then you could be called out. But for some reason, I don't know what this guy has. He's allowed to lie, just frequently lie across the board. It's really bad. And it makes me mad that other people don't think it's serious, because I think, you know, whether you like him or not, he's a wonderful marketer of himself, of his own brand. I think we were talking earlier and you're like, you've never heard someone, like, what was it you were saying, that he's like bragging about himself? It's the most ridiculous.
I mean, if somebody comes into your house, right? And most people who deal with like narcissism will say this. If somebody comes into your house and all they tell you is how great they are. It is so nice to meet you. I don't know if you knew, I'm the greatest person on the planet. I speak the best languages. I eat the best food. I drive the best cars. I, me, all that stuff.
He's really bad about that. I mean, but I think that he's learned throughout his life that if you say an untruth long enough, it becomes the truth. Like that's what he's trying to do with, although he didn't talk about it in the State of the Union. But when January 6th happened, he's trying to rewrite history so that he somehow doesn't look like he was responsible or involved at all. And I think like
what would happen if 500 black people jumped on top of this Capitol building?
Oh, yeah. Well, there you go.
It would be duck season. That's what it would be, right?
Yeah, it would be bad. I mean, honestly, I do think that there were several people that I know there were. Who's the head of the Proud Boys is a Hispanic man.
Yeah,
and he was he was actually exonerated from the crime, let out, and then did another crime and ended up back in jail.
A couple of them have done that.
Yeah, so you're just like, this is a criminal. He can't even with your presidential pardons, you can't even keep your criminals out. And I think his whole game is to tear and rip the union apart in very little specific ways so that he controls power in a very sort of mass way, like he getting to the local judges, getting to the state judges, getting, although I will say bravo to the Supreme Court.
Right.
You decided that your money was important to you too. You're not exempt from having a 401k. You're not exempt from having investments in stocks. And you probably didn't want to start paying 3-4 times for everything else. And you could see all the trade agreements happening with other countries. Yes, wake up the United States American people. When you don't play nice in the field of the world, the other world, it's just like on the in a schoolyard with a bully. The bully's picking on people over and over and over. Then all of a sudden, the smaller kids that are being picked on decide we're going to get together and we're going to kick his butt. Right. And that is exactly what we're headed towards, because this guy thinks he can do that. I mean, has anybody heard what's going on with Maduro? Now, I don't think Maduro's a nice person. He's a bad guy and he deserves, to be removed from office. I strongly believe that. But why not put the person that rightfully won the election in there? Instead, what our government allowed is for his vice president, who, by the way, is largely responsible for a lot of the heinous murders and stuff that have happened in Venezuela. And she gets to run the country. She's like, and apparently in the State of the Union, he bragged about it, that through their partnership, we got 80,000 barrels of, of oil. So he's like bragging about.
Oh, so it's about money.
Yeah, it's about
not
money.
About people or the people you run over. It's just about profit at the end.
Yeah, he doesn't care about those people. And it makes me sick to death that, a lot of people were really excited from Venezuela that he was doing something. He'd gotten Maduro and his wife out. And I could totally see how they would feel, because we want Trump out, his wife. So, and they're not doing, just to be fair, this president isn't doing anything close to what Maduro has done. So I want to lay the groundwork and be fair about that. However, he is building the same kind of walkway for that by what he did in Minneapolis when he decided that it was okay to unleash untrained basic criminals to man the streets in Minneapolis and kill American citizens. And in the State of the Union, he got himself in a little bit of trouble because he was going on and on about his, policy about the border and how he's thinking he's doing so well. And then Representative Omar, who's Somalian, he actually blanketed all the Somalians. He's like, they're terrible people. And I couldn't believe what I was like, are you serious? This has nothing to do with union or bringing people together.
And it's when a blanket statement, a whole race of people based off of, we could do that. We could be like, oh, all the white people are bad because Stephen Paddock murdered 76 people in Las Vegas.
Yeah, I know.
Or 70s. I'm not sure what the number is. Apologize. Somewhere in the 70s, right? But do we do that? Like, oh, it's all Mexicans or all blacks or all Chinese or all white, or you know what I mean?
I think he does it because in any, if you look at any movies, like successful movies, and I hate to equate our government, the leader of the free world in our government, to a movie, but I think when you have a successful movie, there's always an antagonist, right? And there's always a good guy and a bad guy.
Yeah.
And as long as he can keep the American people thinking that there is a bad guy in their backyard, oh, it's the cartel. You know, he's mixing the bag too. Let's give him credit for mixing the bag. He's like, oh, it's the Hispanic people. Oh, no, it's the cartel. It's the drug people. No, it's the Somalians, the people eating cats and dogs. Like, he's keeping his options open. You know, or let's pick on the 1% of the population, the transgender people. Like, let's focus on that. That one didn't serve him as well. But I think that as long as he keeps American people being afraid of what could possibly happen, you know, like the boogeyman, it's like he's creating a boogeyman for everybody. And as long as people think there's a boogeyman, and I got to talk about this, I'll kind of on a roll here right now, but, you know, Frank was in the hospital, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm super, you know, liberal by some people's, you know, assessment. And I found myself in the ER with my husband thinking, are these all like
Say it.
Literally
Say
okay
it.
It's gonna be bad
it's
that
gonna
I'm gonna
sound
say
bad, but it's good. There's a lesson to be learned in this one.
Yeah. So I'm sitting there with my husband and it is packed. And all of a sudden I see all these people, nobody is speaking English. And I thought, you know, and I hate to admit, but I did think for a really small moment, are these people the illegal people that people are complaining about that are making it so it's harder for my husband to get treated in a hospital where we pay very good insurance to be in it? So to all those people who are like, oh, these people are taking our health care, you will be happy to know that I was being given a lesson in trying to understand. Now, I have no idea if any of those people were legal, illegal, or anything. I didn't ask them for their papers. I was kind of profiling.
The picture has been painted that illegals have a certain look to them.
Yeah.
The immigrants that we're talking about are only from one place.
I know. And I felt guilty. I mean, the whole way home, all I kept thinking was, ooh, that entered my, you know, space in my brain. And I was like, I was a little embarrassed. And I thought, you know, I couldn't go up to those people and say, you know, this guy's speaking Spanish and the guy who was checking people in was speaking Spanish to him. Of course, I don't understand Spanish, so I'm not sure what was being said. But he had his little flip-flops on with his socks, and he definitely did not come from my zip code. So I felt
he fit
really
the stereotype of the kids in San Juan Capistrano, not Talega. Right?
It was just ridiculous that it was even happening to me, and I was embarrassed, you know, because I thought, I'm a champion of like, let's be fair about this, right? And I do believe in legal immigration. I think you should come here legally, but I also believe in asylum seekers. So if you're being tortured in your country and you need to flee because they're trying to enter your daughters into prostitution, make your sons drug lords or things like that, or you're just being targeted and it's dangerous and you're going to end up dead, we have ports in our country that are for asylum seekers, and we welcome those people here, and that so they don't go through all the same paperwork that maybe someone else would who like comes from Slovenia or something like that, you know.
I mean, I do agree that we need to have we should have had a way better system years ago of when people come here and how that works, like, and how if you come here, like, because what was happening is like some of the schools I worked at in Anaheim, if you were an illegal and you came here and had a baby, then your baby's an automatic a citizen, which means you get to stay.
Yeah.
And then they just have multiple babies because then they were getting tax benefits and money for every kid that they had. But then you're putting an American who was born on this soil out of that loop. Like when it came to education, I had friends that were trying to get to be teachers in this county, and trying to get financing or a grant or whatever, it was 10 times harder for them than it was for someone who just came here and had a kid.
Yeah. So I think it's in it. You bring up an interesting point. I mean, years ago, I had a boyfriend who wanted to get into a certain college and he couldn't do it. He was white, white guy, didn't have any ethnicity to him at all. And he had very good grades, but he was being overlooked for somebody who had less grades, but filled a racial requirement that was offered. So there is a part, but let me also be clear that DEI and things like that matter. And the reason they matter is because the gentleman who got in and my boyfriend didn't would never get in if that law hadn't been put in place for him to do so. So there's this idea that, which is hilarious to me, that the white man, this is the news thing, white men are being discriminated against, which just makes me laugh.
That is the dumbest shit I've ever heard. Sorry. When they say they're losing their whiteness, you'll never lose your whiteness. You can't. Just like I can't lose my blackness. Like, it's not how it works. Second, if you're a white guy and you walk into a high-end bank, they give you the benefit of the doubt. If you're a black man and walk into a high-end bank, they don't necessarily give you the benefit of the doubt.
No, and you know what's weird is I think that people think that that's all in the past. But I think this administration is trying to rewind the past and move us farther back. The problem is once you start introducing change to people, it is really difficult to take the change away from them, right? You know, just like with women, you know, like, and you better watch out, women. Make sure you know 50% of this country does not have passports. And if you want to vote in the election and you have to relocate and then you have to prove you're you, if you're married, good luck, because you're not going to be able to make your birth certificate match your real ID. You know, my real ID has a different name on it.
Right. And most people, if you're a married woman and you took the husband's last name, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's all this like weird stuff that's happening when this administration is causing a lot of havoc and saying, look over here, don't look over here, because they're doing something they don't want you to see.
Right.
And they're very clever about it. So as much as people like to say, I don't think Trump is particularly brilliant. I think he's particularly good at lying. He's mastered that. And he's mastered getting people to believe him. I mean, they still all think he's a good businessman.
See, I'm gonna look it up. I have an interesting theory on most presidents. I think the smarter people are the people behind them.
Yep.
And the president is more like a puppet.
Like the figurehead?
He's the figurehead. He's the scapegoat. He's the guy you bark at. Meanwhile, all the people that are really doing the work are behind them.
Except for Obama.
But even Obama, I mean, as eloquent as he is, there are still people in his ear.
Right, for sure. You hire a good leader will hire really good people to support.
That's why you have speechwriters. That's why you have all these people to like cross the T's and dot the I's in your administration. That's why they're there. Lobbyists, in case anybody didn't know what that was. Like back in the day, I was like, what is a lobbyist? What do they do? I said, all they do is sway opinion, right? They're the people that go gaslight and go ding, 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 ding. And to me, that's how they feel. You know what I mean? Like if someone's going to lobby for something, they're going to convince you of it, right?
Right.
So they can convince you by any means necessary.
Convince you that drilling for gas doesn't hurt the environment.
Yeah, convince you that gas costs $1.25. Right.
Oh, yeah, that was a new one.
It was 72 cents when I was in high school. A long time ago.
Well, somewhere in the country, he was saying it was, Trump said in the State of the Union that gas was $1.19.
You know how many people would be flocking to that one gas station that was $1.15? They would have no gas left, first of all. And they would close because there's no way they can do business at that price.
I know. I just thought it was so crazy as he was giving himself credit for lower gas prices. And all I thought was, okay, maybe it's a little bit lower than it was, but that's not because of you. So gas prices are like a demand thing.
And it's relative to where you live.
Yeah.
Right? Because capitalism is a real thing in this country. So let's say a barrel of oil costs $100, right? I'm just paraphrasing. Let's say a barrel of oil costs $100. $100 is $100. But if you live, if that barrel of oil is going to Podunk, Nebraska, gas is $2.50. Then that same barrel of oil is going to Newport Beach and it's $7 for gas.
Yeah. Well, some of it's because we don't get the pipeline gas. Our gas is driven in, and then California passed some laws, and my more liberal people will not like to know this, but it is true. And I believe in telling the truth, unlike our illustrious leader. We pass laws that make us have to refine our gas too. So it goes through a filtration process, and that cost is passed on to the consumer.
Right. And also because of whatever city or area you're in. For instance, the same gas at Chevron in Newport Coast costs $1.50 more than it does in Costa Mesa.
I know. I found that to be true, too.
It's the same company.
If you drive up and down from San Diego to LA, you'll find different gas prices as you go up and down the state. You know, but I mean, I personally think that I know Trump wants everyone to believe that, you know, everything's less expensive and he's fixing the economy. But the true irony about a president's first year in office is that they're still riding the tailcoats and the policies of the previous president.
Right.
You know, so I'm like, you're getting a little bit of gloss because whether you like Joe Biden or not, he was doing a good job. The problem was it wasn't working fast enough for people coming off COVID. I mean, you know, Joe Biden and his administration, the people that work for him had to work overtime trying to fix what that knucklehead had done with COVID because it hurt supply chain and it hurt the automotive industry really, really badly because it affected the chips that are put in cars because they're made in Taiwan. And he's still talking about that. Like thinks he's going to watch out Taiwan. I always worry he's going to do something there, you know, because there's a lot of money in chip building for all sorts of things. But in particular, cars rely on it because they're like driving computers now. But I mean, this guy is just looking to wreak havoc all over the place. But what people don't realize that he's actually doing is he is taking billions of dollars in for himself and his family. And meanwhile, not addressing the things that really matter to people, like their kitchen table topics, you know, like how much food costs, how much gas costs, can people buy a house? He did tout that interest rates have gone down, and you know, Frank's in that business and they have gone down, but that's not because he's wonderful. Some of this stuff is like a secular thing, you know, like it happens because there's ebb and flows to the economy. And then I love the one where he's like, oh, I've stopped all the wars. What are you talking about? And then he's invested $18 billion into the U.S. economy. And I'm like, where are you getting that from?
Can anybody name all 8 wars?
Nope. And neither can Trump.
Did anybody know that there was even 8 wars?
Nope. But he just decides if he says it's true that it must be. It's really crackers. And the fact that so many people there's still a huge segment of people that think he's doing great. And I'm just amazed by the whole thing. I'm like, I used to watch the State of the Union regardless of who the president was, you know, because it's usually a policy difference. It's not just outright fragrant lying and trying to confuse issues. And then the weirder thing, because, you know, I love the Olympics. I had to watch them all. I love ice skating. I love that the hockey women's team won.
Right.
And the hockey men's team won. I was super proud of that, you know, and as an American. And tell me if that guy can't even stink that up. You know, he's all like, I'm going to invite, first of all, our head of the FBI, Kash Patel, the guy who looks like he's been stunned with a stun gun every time you see him, is
Kash Patel looks like he's done too many bumps of cocaine.
Yeah, his eyes are bugged out all the time. And not only, besides just the odd way that he always looks when he's being addressed, that guy flew on the American people's dime to Italy so that he could act like a bro
I saw him drinking a beer in the locker room. Yeah.
And I was just like, it's not that I don't think you should be able to have fun, but hey, Mr. FBI guy, why don't you try to find, you know, Savannah Guthrie's mom? Why don't you spend your time in that? You don't need to be in the locker room shaking alcoholic beverage and acting like you're a 20-year-old. You know, go do your dang job. We're not paying you to go to Italy and act like a doofus. But this is a circus. Like half the people that Trump employs are these people that if you had to leave your kids with any of these people, it would be a hard no, even for Trump supporters. I'd be like, how about we leave your favorite son with Kash Patel for the evening? No.
Right.
How about Kristi Noem, the dog shooter? No.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I mean, some of these people, I'm like, oh my gosh, what are you thinking? But yeah, and shout out to the American women's hockey team for not going to the White House after he so disrespectfully mentioned them. Like, I just thought, how do you do this? You are the most unifying person that walks the planet. He actually found a way to diss them. Like he said, oh, I'll get impeached if I don't invite the women. So horrible.
I think this is the only time, correct me if I'm wrong, about a president that anybody, even if they didn't like your politics, said no to an invitation to the White House.
Oh, yeah. You know, I know we talked about that the other day, and you're right. But a lot of people say no now.
Yeah. But it used to be like it didn't matter what your politics were.
You would go because you'd
go.
Like, oh.
But it's gotten so bad. People are like, no.
Because it's crossed a different line.
Yeah.
It's not a policy line. This is where it's different for people. It's not a policy line. It's not a policy line, people. This isn't like, oh, I'm a conservative. I'm worried about the purse strings. No. First of all, that ship has sailed because this administration doesn't care about the purse strings. All you have to do is look at the fact that he's absolutely thwacked the East Wing and now is building a ballroom that's twice the size of the White House. It's ridiculous. Kind of reminds me of a man who's a little insecure.
It's not black or white. It's not black or white with Tim Stevenson and Diane Blakeley.